As we all know, one of the main reasons this convicted felon insurrectionist piece of trash president put in place these massive tariffs virtually on every country in the world was to facilitate bribery, was to facilitate corruption. And he's been doing it. And here is yet another example. You know, Vietnam is a country that is dependent on exporting their goods around the world. And they export a lot to the United States. And they are desperately trying to get these tariffs that Trump illegally put in place. And let's be clear, nearly all of these tariffs are illegal. Presidents have no authority to unilaterally impose tariffs. That has to be done through Congress. But Trump used a law that grants a president emergency authorities. But that law doesn't say anything about tariffs, and no president in history has ever used that statute to impose tariffs. Yet, Donald Trump did. So here we are. Anyway, Vietnam is trying desperately to get these tariffs removed. But, you know, the problem they have is if you listen to this orange buffoon who talks about trade imbalances, there's nothing that Vietnam can do to balance trade between our two nations, where Vietnam is buying as much from the United States as we buy from Vietnam. That is not possible. So they're having a problem in that regard. So how do you get the sanctions, the tariffs lifted against your country when you can do nothing to balance trade? And you have in the president of the United States, a convicted felon who is openly now open for business, using his office to solicit bribes from countries around the world. That's what the tariffs are for. That's what his meme coin is for. All of this is so that he can bribe other countries. So what did Vietnam do? Well, they're paying him off. They're giving him what he wants. Got an article here from NBC News. This just came out today. Let me read a little of this for you. Vietnam's Prime Minister and President Donald Trump's son, Eric, held a groundbreaking ceremony on Wednesday for a $1.5 billion luxury residential development with 3 18-hole golf courses outside Hanoi. The U.S. President's Trump Organization Family Business and its local partners received approval for the project just last week. Isn't that convenient? From the communist authorities in Vietnam. So how do you like that, MAGA? Your cult leader getting in bed with the communists. Hey, you don't care. Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh, probably mispronouncing that, said Eric Trump's visit, quote, motivated us to expedite this project and urged local authorities to provide maximum support and facilitate the completion of the 2,444-acre resort. Pretty big. Eric Trump is also set to meet Ho Chi Minh City officials on Thursday to explore plans for a possible skyscraper in Vietnam's southern business hub. Projects to be developed in Vietnam will, quote, be the envy of all Asia and of the entire world, Eric Trump said. Good God. It just... And nobody cares. I know nobody cares, but still, I'm going to let you all know about it. Let me just read a couple more paragraphs here. Vietnam was meant to be hit with some of the highest U.S. tariff rates of any country at 46% when President Trump announced his Liberation Day plan for global tariffs on April 2nd. Trump has since postponed the tariffs, blah, blah, blah. Vietnamese trade negotiators are in Washington to discuss compromises. Offers made so far include lowering tariffs and non-tariff barriers, intensifying the fight against trade frauds and counterfeiting, and providing favorable conditions to Starlink. Of course, gotta send money to Trump's sugar daddy, Elon Musk. All right, you get the gist. This makes me sick. What makes me sick even more than, this is so obviously bribery. He puts these tariffs in place on Vietnam and all these other countries. And then They cut deals with the Trump Organization, giving Donald Trump all these things that he wants, building all his luxury golf resorts and condos and all this crap in exchange for favorable trade deals. That is textbook bribery. That is a crime. If ours was a healthy republic, Donald Trump would be impeached, removed from office, prosecuted, and sent to prison for the rest of his life. Not just for this, but it already would have happened for, I don't know, trying to overthrow the republic. But again, nobody cares, or very few of us care. We're apparently in the minority, as this probably won't even be much reported. You know, I saw this in print, NBC News. I don't know if it's being really covered in any meaningful way since people don't fucking read anymore. So if it's not on TikTok or YouTube or on talk radio or whatever shows people watch, no one's going to see it. And by the way, that's how Fox News, for example, gets away with being able to, this fraud that they report news. They report news in print, or they report news at hours when no one's really watching Fox News, right? Because when they report it in print, like on their website, they know people don't read. They might read the headlines. And so if you ever go on Fox News, by the way, their headlines are like super salacious. They tell the Trump cult exactly what they want to hear, no matter what the story is. Even if it's bad for Trump, the headline conveys good news for Trump. Then you click on the story and you read it, and they might actually put the truth in the news story, but they know no one's going to read it. Same thing that during the day, right? They post actual news. They report on actual news. At times, very few people are watching. But, when everyone's turning in at in prime time, you're not going to get any news there. You get pure Trump propaganda. Anyway, whatever. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Welcome to America. Isn't this great? One more thing before I go. I just came across a video clip of a senile old buffoon who was up on Capitol Hill the other day trying to get members of his cult to go along with his big, beautiful bill, which they have now done and passed that monstrosity. Anyway, when he was up there, he made a few incoherent comments, as he does, and then walked away, seemingly not knowing where the hell he's going, and about to walk either into an officer or into a column or a wall or something, and had to be redirected by Speaker Mike Johnson. So take a look at this clip.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
No, dumbass, don't walk into the wall. Come this way.
Bumpy dump.
And one more thing. I want to go back to the clip and freeze it because I want to point something out. So here we go.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Bumpy dump. And right there. You see right there on the top of his head, this cotton candy hair spun around. You see this stupid lump right here? That is one big cluster of hair that this is his comb over. This is part of his comb over that comes from the front of his head all the way to the back here. This must be like a 2-foot clump of hair. This man has absolutely no idea how ridiculous he looks, but we all do. Anyway, I think this man, and I don't normally like mocking someone's appearance, but this piece of garbage mocks people's appearance constantly. So, good for the goose, good for the gander, all that sort of thing. I think this man's looks are fair game. And that's the strangest thing about him insulting people. He is one of the most ridiculous looking human beings on the face of the earth. He literally paints himself orange. He grows his few remaining hairs to about 3 feet long and spins it around his head like friggin' cotton candy in one of those damn machines. And he walks around like that thinking he looks good. Meanwhile, he insults the way other people look. We should be mocking this man relentlessly. He is a buffoon. That's why I call him the orange buffoon. That's what he is.
He's an absolutely ridiculous buffoon of a human being. Mock him. He has power. He's also evil and damaging, and he's destroying the country, and all of that is true. But he's also an idiot and a fool and a buffoon. That is also true. So mock him. Mockery is powerful. Mock him.